Meanwhile, on the comic box.
San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone, so it's trailer time, baby. Kick it, Liam. Comics. That was a little disjointed. It's fine. Hey, everyone. Welcome to issue 59. I can't believe we're getting up there of the Comic Box, part of the Geek to Geek podcast network. I am Rob, your friendly neighborhood comic geek, and I am joined once again by the lonesome Liam Urich. Not lonesome. What's a good word for you coming back after a while? Prodigal, really, but the wayward
long-awaited?
The long-awaited Liam O'Rourke. Welcome back, Liam.
Thank you, sir.
This is actually the first time we've done this in a while. Like, you were on last week's episode, but you showed up in person. This is the first time we're actually in our separate places. More importantly, you are in your new apartment. How did the move go?
It went pretty well. I got kind of the basic necessities into my apartment for the time being, so there's still plenty more to move in from my little storage room downstairs. But yeah, it's coming together piece by piece. So
good, yeah. And I actually got to see it. I was over there the other day. We got to put some posters or something up on your walls. We'll figure out a way. Though I was talking to your girlfriend, and the idea being we know that it's just going to be all shelves full of pop figures, which is ridiculous. But I like the idea that she had of you putting shelves up along the ceiling, and so you just have a border that runs all the way around your apartment of
I agree.
pots.
And we have higher ceilings here, too, so that makes a difference. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Cool. So, as we said in the intro there, San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone. We finally did our Brian K. Vaughan episode last week we wanted to do for so many weeks. There is obviously a ton of news and everything coming out of San Diego, so we're going to split the Comic-Con stuff. This week, we are just going to focus on the trailers that came out for all the different movies and TV shows. And then next week, we will dive into some of the actual comic book news so that we can get back into the habit of actually talking comics, which is awesome. First, of course, the weekly geekery. Anything particularly geeky you've been geeking out on? How have you kept it geek this week, Liam?
Well, I like to keep things geeky on a day-to-day basis, basically. But today, I swung by a wonderful little comic shop over in South St. Paul called Level Up Games. And I picked up a few of the Batman animated pops. I got Bane, the animated Bane, and Clayface, and Phantasm from Mask of the Phantasm.
I didn't know Level Up was a comic book store.
Yeah, it's got comics, it's got games, it's got figures. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's
that's
it's
scary.
A wonderful store.
That's scary.
Wonderful.
I believe I saw a sign. There's a new little sort of strip mall development right literally around the corner from where I live by the grocery store there. And I saw a sign that I believe was for Level Up Games, which is scary because another game store just opened up like literally a 2-minute drive down the road, like on the other side of what we'll call the main street. In another little strip mall thing, there's another new game store that I've wanted to go check out that just opened. The idea that two of them, granted, I'm right next to the high school, middle school, elementary school. It makes total sense. I'm a little jealous somebody opened a comic shop here before me. Not that I would open a comic store, but
it doesn't make fiscal sense, but it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. But the idea that there's now two game stores that I could walk to or bike to if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out. You're going to have to come down and check them out with me.
I will. Yeah, and Level Up Games is great because they've got a little gaming area, like a whole, separate, almost a whole store where you can,
nice.
Eat
just
and drink and just have, game. Yeah, they have game nights every night of the week and everything.
Oh.
And as coincidence should happen, as I was walking out, one of my favorite baristas from the Caribou I go to most frequently was just going in. I feel a little guilty because I can't remember his name if I've heard it.
That's fine. Coffee guy.
Yeah.
Everybody should have a nickname anyway. Real names are stupid.
Yeah, it's true. But it was cool to see him. And he was like, hey, Liam. And I turned around and saw him. I was like, holy crap. Of all the places to run into you. But he's like, yeah, I'm here every week for game nights. So, yeah.
Literally, I think if he said, hey, Liam, and you said, yo, coffee guy, I think that would be just fine.
Yeah, he would know I meant him. So
exactly. I wouldn't be insulted if it were me. Yeah, because it means you're associated with something good.
Yeah, he's my Kara bro.
Yes! Oh, God, he's got a name now.
Kara
He is
bro.
officially Kara Bro.
Uh,
So I know the other thing you've been doing is kind of sort of catching up on all of your Game of Thrones.
yes.
How's that going?
It's going very well. My girlfriend has been watching it while I'm, at work and stuff, so it's kind of like sporadic, the pieces that I see, but it reminds me of all this stuff that did happen. And just
how long ago it happened?
Yeah, and the tragedy. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I still feel so bad for Tyrion when he's on the stand and Shay is testifying against him. Oh, that is just devastating.
But just how early in the show that happens is insane. To think we're on season 7, and when I went there, it was the scene where Jaime Lannister, it was like the episode after he gets his hand cut off, and you're like, that's season 3?
Yeah, and it's early in 3, too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I guess, I suppose I didn't watch the show when it first came out. I don't know how many seasons in I was when I binged it, so maybe that's why. To me, it doesn't feel like that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I've been watching it as it came out because my buddy was a huge fan of the books and got me into it early. But yeah, it still does not feel like it's been 7 years that I've been watching the show already.
No.
And it doesn't really have a dip in quality. I mean, say what you will about the 5th season with the sand snakes and everything, it was still a well put together show in most regards.
It just deviated from the plot lines people wanted to know more about.
Yeah. I mean,
in order to
with
add.
that,
The book was that way too, though. When it starts getting into all the Dorne stuff, you're kind of thrown off for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for myself, I'm trying to think what I've actually done. I played another chunk. I had another night where I just sat down for a couple of hours and let myself play video games, and I played more Batman. He does things on his back. Batman Arkham Origins, which, again, it's more Arkham, but I'm just trying to play through the game. I've played through the part where you fight the Joker, and you get to be the Joker for a very short period of time, unless that happens more later on. I have no idea.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I haven't really dove into any other comics. I still have Umbrella Academy I want to read. It's entirely possible that I said that was going to be the homework for this week, so I apologize. I read other comics instead, but there wasn't anything special. I didn't read a volume of anything. I did, however, order a volume of a comic. There's the trades that come out that are collecting Elseworlds now. So I ordered the Volume 2 Justice League Elseworlds trade, which I guess collects additional trades. So I don't even know what you would call it, a collection. Because some of the stories I have in trade paperback form, but this is larger and has more in them. And some of them that I don't own. So I'm going to own doubles of lots of things. So if there's a comic shop near me and they'll buy some of my stuff that's still in good condition that I just don't read or give me store credit or something, we would be, right? I'd be that guy. I have lots of things that I have more than one version of because, well, not a lot, a couple. Where if I own like a small part of a thing, but then I could get it in a larger, section. And then, I'm trying to think if there's really anything else that I've done. It's only been a couple of days, though, because what day do we record? Sunday?
Usually.
Was that the day that what day did you come over? Wasn't it Sunday?
I'm going to say yes. I think it was Sunday.
So it's Thursday now, so it's only been a couple of days, and work has been busy. Other things have been happening, just real-life things that get in the way of that extra geekdom. So I guess that's it. I guess that's it for me. I haven't really gotten a chance to really dive into anything else geeky yet. So I came over to your place, and I taught your girlfriend how to play Marvel Munchkin.
There you go.
So that's my weekly geekery. So I guess we'll just say it now. Our poll list for next week then, for me, is still going to be Umbrella Academy. I apologize that I didn't get to it, so I will read it and give a short review next week of the first volume of Umbrella Academy. I'll let you guys know what I think. And then if there's anything else that I tackle as well. So if you didn't read Umbrella Academy, if you did read it, I apologize. Let's see. If I'm getting this Justice League Elseworlds trade, one of the stories in it that I already own is a wonderful story called JLA Act of God. And the conceit is all of the men on Earth die. Think Why the Last Man, but in the DC universe. They find out Superman... Yeah, they find out that Superman is the cause, so Superman leaves Earth, and there is one other... You find in the story, this is minor spoilers, there is one other human being left on Earth, and can you guess who that is?
Why the Last Man?
No, this is the DC Comics universe. Why the Last Man's Vertigo. It's Lex Luthor.
Ooh.
He seals himself in his armor and doesn't leave.
Okay.
So that he doesn't die, and he becomes the last human male on Earth, meaning if Earth is to repopulate itself, they need to use Lex Luthor. He has to become the father of a new generation. But it's very cool because now you have sort of female versions of superheroes that take over after the male superheroes die. The Amazons kind of show everybody the way of how to have a society without men involved. It's a really good book.
They have a little practice at it.
Yeah. So maybe I'll try and tackle that as well, and we can talk that as well as Umbrella Academy.
That sounds pretty cool.
Okay. So... I don't want to hold off too long before we dig into the actual meat because there's a lot of trailers to do. So let's go take that quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
I'm Void.
And I'm Beej.
And together, we're the Geek to Geek podcast. Well, we make it. It is kind of us, but I guess it's separate.
Every week, we pick a topic from geek or digital culture and chat about it for a while.
And you're invited. We talk about books and movies, games, comics, the internet.
Or really whatever we feel like.
Yeah, that too.
So look for the Geek to Geek podcast on iTunes.
Or wherever your podcasts are sold. Or downloaded. Or whatever.
And we are back.
What a break it was.
Hooray. It was a wonderful break. As you heard, that is the Geek to Geek podcast. We are part of the Geek to Geek podcast network. So geektogeekcast.com is where you can find out about all of our great shows. Please listen to them. Star ratings and reviews. It's the only way the word spreads. You guys are you're the reason we do it, because there's somebody out there listening.
You guys are the real superheroes.
That's nice. You're the real comic box.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But
tell us about your exploits.
Exactly. But star ratings and reviews are good. We didn't, obviously, it's the end of July now. We did not hit our goal of those 25 reviews, so we're not doing, I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was that we were going to take a random comic, we would both sign it and make it worthless and mail it to one lucky reviewer. So we'll need a new goal for August. Let's still leave it. I don't even think we got a single review from all that. I'm not angry at you all. I'm just disappointed.
And that is worse.
Yeah. So let's say if we get to 25 by the end of August, we will do the same thing. I will send you one of my comics from my comic box, and Liam and I will both sign it. We can personalize it if you want. We'll write literally whatever you want on it, so long as it's not incriminating. And we'll mail it off to you. So for all the people that review from this point forward, we will pick one of those and do that. Or I don't know, maybe we'll pick one out of any of those 25 so that you're not left out if you were one of the nice people that have already left us a review.
Although not to open myself to litigation, I do tend to sign my autographs as I confess to the murder of with a big blank space.
Just in case.
Just in case. It's a flourish. You got to sign off with a flourish sometimes for people to remember you.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, let's get into the trailers. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it a little different, and it's going to be just an absolute pain in the neck to edit later on. But Liam and I are going to, you won't hear any disruption, but on our end, we're going to pause or we're going to mute our microphones, watch the trailer, and then come back and give immediate responses. I know there's a lot of trailers, so we'll see how far we get before I just kind of admit defeat and say we've been recording for too long because... I run out of space on the thing. Oh, which, by the way, just so you're all aware, we're recording this on the 27th. It's going to be August before you get this episode, so if this comes out a couple days late, I apologize. I ran out of space on Libsyn, the server website that I use to host my podcasts. I only get so much space each month, and we keep recording really long episodes because somebody talks too much, and I'm pretty sure it's Liam.
What can I say? I'm a chatty fella.
Yes, you are. You're very loquacious. You're a loquacious Liam. All right, so let's start on the first trailer. It is going to be Thor Ragnarok. So, Liam, go ahead and mute your mic and hit play, and we'll be right back once we're done watching this trailer. Go!
Will do.
Okay, so we just watched the Thor Ragnarok trailer. It looks good.
Oh yeah. Wholly expletive deleted. This looks like a lot of fun.
It looks absolutely like there's some really gorgeous views in there. And it's all CG. You know, it's the same as Guardians 2 had some very pretty visuals in it. There's a couple things that I want to point out in this one specifically. First is Thor sounds like he's speaking like a normal person, and he almost kind of sounds like Chris Pratt in that first line.
Oh,
where he's like, oh, because, like, so that was, you know, whatever.
Yeah, he does kind of.
He doesn't feel... It's the idea that he's Thor, but he's more just Liam Hemsworth, I think. He doesn't feel like
I'm sorry,
Thor.
which Hemsworth?
I don't know, which one is he? Chris?
He's Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever. You're Liam.
Yeah.
I thought Liam. You know, but we get Valkyrie in this one. A little sad we don't see Sif or the Warriors 3.
Yeah. Is it... who is it that catches his hammer?
That is Hela, who is the goddess of death. Think the devil in Norse mythology.
Okay.
She rules the land of the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, after that last one, The Dark World, I wasn't really impressed by that one, you know?
No.
This looks like it's back to having some fun again. So.
Right. I like that it's in space. I like that it's getting more involved in the really big stories. I think it's interesting that we're finally getting a Hulk that speaks.
That was the thing I thought was so cool, was that it's not just him being a mindless, savage, raging, you know, like indestructible object, you know. He actually does have a mind still and can talk while in that form.
Yeah. We get the guy that, it's actually the dude that plays Jesse Custer in Preacher, the main actor of Preacher, is the guy with the 2 rifles. That's a character named Curse.
Okay.
We get, like I said, we get Valkyrie in this one, which is very cool. We get that ship was another thing I want to talk about. The ship that it shows them flying, it has those really bright primary colors. And when I saw it, the first thing that came to my mind is Captain Marvel. And it's just because of the colors on the ship. I don't assume it's got anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But
thinking about it, you're right.
At the very least, it's a very bright movie.
Yeah. And the whole Planet Hulk arena thing looks like that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I like Mark Ruffalo in this. You know, I like him as Bruce Banner. I like the fact that Loki is in this, and it looks like they team up at some point.
Right, which
that is
obviously
truthful to the comic, because Loki is oftentimes an antagonist, but he is still his brother, and they do still have to work together sometimes.
Right, but at the same time, it's also the same in that, like, of course there's Loki. You know what I mean? Like, the reason we don't have the Warriors 3 is nobody actually remembers them from the other Thor movie, is my thought. Which is a shame, because they're such a big part of the comic books, but I get it. But Thor Ragnarok, thumbs up. I like that they're playing up this weird 80s video game angle, you know, with the music and the logos.
And I like seeing Carl Urban in there.
That's the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
That plays Curse.
Okay.
Kurse, I think is the character. Unless I'm wrong. I might be wrong, and it might be somebody else that I'm not thinking of. I thought it was Curse.
Cruz?
That's not Cruz. Yeah. Okay. But all right, we got a lot of these to get through. So yay for Thor.
Yay for Thor.
We definitely like this one. It looks like the next one up on the list is Justice League.
Yeah. Oh, the last thing I had to say is that scene with him getting all charged with electricity. Oh man, that really gets me like titillated.
Yeah, it's neat.
It's really cool.
It's neat. But again, I just hope it's the idea that he's talking like a normal guy, so it feels like they're pulling a little out of Thor as Thor, you know, and more of a normal dude with Thor's powers. So hopefully, they'll still play up some of that really big stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be big. It's Thor. It needs to be huge as well as fun. I don't want it just another Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Now let's watch Justice League. Be right back.
Okay. Okay.
So that was, we just finished watching the Justice League trailer. Look, Liam, it's slow motion and lots of CGI and not a lot of color.
Yeah, that's all very true.
You know, the nerd... Go ahead, sorry.
I have to say I'm super excited for this, actually, though. I think this looks like it could actually be a good movie. I've been super skeptical. You know, like, I did not think that the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice was a good movie. I like the Man of Steel movie.
Okay.
You know, I like Ben Affleck as Batman.
Sure.
I like Gal
That'll give you-
Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I'll
I've
give you
never
that one.
cared for the Cyborg as a character before in the comics. Like, yeah, he's there, whatever. But I think this guy looks like he's actually kind of cool. Like, I like him taking over the Batmobile or whatever that thing is, using his, like, you know, cybernetics.
Sure.
So, obviously it's going to be one of those ones you have to see a few times to really know what you're looking at every time. And it did take me turning on the closed captioning and watching it twice to be able to hear some of what is being said by whom I'm presuming is Darkseid.
The guy that shows up?
Yeah, is that the bad guy in this?
The bad guy is not Darkseid. No,
Okay.
That's a character named Steppenwolf, who is
Steppenwolf,
a general.
That's right.
He is a general of Darkseid. He
the
shows
big
up in a
axe.
deleted scene from Batman v Superman, actually.
Okay, I
Lex
should have known
Luthor
from that
season for a
axe
second.
that that's his uncle. Steppenwolf.
Darkseid's uncle.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure there's going to be a couple nerdgasms. It's going to be cool. I think the version of the Flash they're looking to do, even though the show is great, I think the take they're doing here is interesting. It's just when you see Wonder Woman do anything and it's CG and you're like, you know, she can pull off some of these things. Just do a little wire work and just don't CG it. The fact that you see Aquaman surfing a dude through the top of a building like Legolas,
Yeah, that was
know?
unnecessary.
and that they're totally making him to be basically Jason Momoa as Aquaman instead of Aquaman. He's very much almost this bro dude kind of guy, which don't get me wrong, I love that idea, but I worry that if he is supposed to be the king of the oceans, then this isn't the right Aquaman. He needs to be so much more like stoic or whatever. I like this take. I think I'm going to have trouble seeing him as an authority figure.
I guess I agree. I like him in this role quite a bit. I think this take on the character could be really interesting. But yeah, as the absolute undisputed ruler of all the underwater nations,
Right.
it would be a little bit more of a stoic, figure. At least someone who has a little more respect for it, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I think it could still be a really fun take on the character. I did get really excited over the line, no lanterns, no Kryptonians. It did take me a few times listening to it to understand everything that was being said right there. And I would, of course, love to see a Green Lantern make an appearance in this movie. I think you and I are both in agreement on that.
They say no lanterns, so we at least know there's Green Lanterns in this universe, which is like, for me...
Which is the thing that...
Right, but that's all I see myself getting out of this movie is just a little bit of that, the nerdgasm things, and that's it.
I am curious about that scene at the end, though, where it shows Alfred working on the Batmobile or whatever, and then he talks about, you said you'd come, blah, 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 but you don't see who he's talking to. It almost seems to me like there's maybe a little bit of a green light coming from off the screen, maybe, just a little.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think the thought is it's the return of Superman, which we all
that would
assume.
be the obvious thing. Yeah.
But if you were doing that, you'd at least have to show us a flutter of a cape or something. The other thing is they talk about hope, and you hear Bruce Wayne talking about how Batman represented the best in everybody. No, he didn't. That wasn't the Superman we got. We didn't get a hopeful Superman movie in either Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. You saw a guy with lots of powers breaking lots of buildings, fighting other people with powers.
And then people being immediately mad at the God King that has installed himself on Earth.
Yeah.
In the second one, in Batman versus Superman.
Exactly. So, like, he does some good things, but, yeah, he doesn't really, there's just a bunch of Jesus imagery that doesn't scream that the character actually embodies hope. It just means there's a lot of Jesus imagery that Zack Snyder put into the movie.
Yeah.
So we will have to wait and see. What is next up? Next up isn't actually a comic one, but...
Ready Player One! Yay!
It's Ready Player One. Do you want we'll just briefly talk about that trailer? We don't actually need to watch it, because it is kind of a long trailer.
It is.
And
there's a lot of stuff to look at that it's hard to, pick it all apart.
Right. Yeah. So Ready Player One, we've both read the book. We both like the book. I haven't done the audiobook. I hear the audiobook is good too.
Yeah, I might have to try that one myself because, yeah, I've read the book twice. I really liked it.
Yeah, so since it's not a comic thing, we'll just say short version is we're looking forward to it.
Yep, seeing it open day. Definitely.
Yeah, I like the stacks. We'll see how some of it goes. Again, I'm worried about all the CG fest that we keep getting.
Yeah, I did see references to Back to the Future and Akira and World of Warcraft.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to see all the other ones in there. There's the Iron Giant. That's a very prevalent
Freddy
one.
Krueger is in there.
Freddy Krueger, yeah. So, yeah.
And that's the question. Were they able to get the rights to everything they need to really make it feel like an 80s thing?
The puzzles, those are the things that I'm most anticipating. Like, if they actually get to go and do the dialogue from Monty Python, I might just, like, cry in the theater. That's my favorite movie, and that was my favorite part of the book. So I was like, this makes me want to be in the Oasis.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
it'll be good. The next trailer after that was Stranger Things Season 2.
Yep.
Looking forward to it. It looks like they're taking sort of a left-hand turn, obviously doing something very different from the first one. I see no reason why I wouldn't look forward to it. They have the Ghostbusters thing in there, so they're still clearly trying to push the 80s on us with this as well. I don't know that it's going to be quite the giant 80s thing the first season was. I think now they're going to try and take it.
Well, they're playing Dragon Slayer at the beginning also.
That's true, but I just don't... We'll see. I'm hoping that it's more peppered in there rather than, pushing it hard, because now I want to get to know my characters better and invest more in that world rather than reminisce about the 80s. I want the 80s to be the setting, but not the point of watching.
Yeah, I admit I still need to watch the first season.
It's good. I hope this will encourage you to do it.
People have really suggested it to me. They tell me that I would definitely like it. It's just kind of one of those, I haven't set aside time for it.
Right.
And I want to actually watch it as opposed to, like, watching it with people and talking and all that,
Yeah. So in this, it's a compilation video that we have of stuff from the third day that we started. There was also Westworld Season 2, which looks good. Did you ever see Season 1?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Season 2 looks good. I really have no idea where they're going to go with the show, so that'll be interesting. Star Trek Discovery, which looks good, but not really Star Trek-y.
Yeah, I haven't watched the trailer for that one myself, so...
Okay.
I'm an in general Star Trek fan, but obviously Star Wars is where I butter my bread.
Right. I see you enjoying the trailer and being curious to see where the show goes, because, again, it's going to be on, like, the CBS app or whatever, which means maybe they can do a little more like they would with, say, a Netflix show than they would dealing with regular network television sort of rules and the way you have to format a show and the formula you have to use for network TV shows.
Yeah.
This third day trailer thing also has trailers for Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. I watched them all, but I'm not currently watching anything but Flash, and I don't like the idea of spoiling things for myself. They seem fine. I'm not watching Legends. I think somebody said Legends got better in the second season, kind of figured out what they wanted to do, but I still don't think you're going to get the budget to do a show of that scale on network television. So I'm sure all that stuff is going to be fine and good and hooray. So why don't we move on to the next one that I think we're most excited for, which is going to be the Defenders.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
So move over to the Defenders. And let's watch that trailer.
All right. Ho, ho, ho. Okay.
So, the Defenders trailer. First of all, clearly they've figured out that the formula for all of these things is to take a recognizable song and use it in their trailer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to come as you are sometimes. You can't
just instead of original music. But it's fine. So, I will just flat off say I'm looking forward to this. As far as the trailer goes, I would have liked to see a little more Claire, actually, a little more Night Nurse. But the one thing I saw that I wanted to see was Daredevil on his hands and knees spitting what looks like blood out of his mouth, because that's I like Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I know Daredevil's sort of the hyper-violent show, the much darker show.
I love it, though.
Yeah, I like the idea of the guy that gets beat up and keeps going.
Exactly. The guy who doesn't have any superhuman, like, toughness about him. It's just that he is a normal guy who has heightened senses and, like, ninja training.
Right.
So if you punch him, he's still going to feel it. It's going to leave a mark on him. and he still gets up and fights on. So I think that looks like it's going to be really fun. And the line there where he's like, "I'm glad we found one another," and then Luke Cage is like, "I'm not hugging you." That actually got me to laugh pretty good. So
I would have preferred if that line were delivered by Iron Fist, and then Luke Cage says that, because I want to see some Luke Cage Iron Fist team-up action where, we get a chance finally, because the whole thing of Iron Fist, I guess, part of it was the actor who played the character had zero time to do any training or anything because he was thrown in there right at the last minute. So the hope then is that we'll get some better kung fu out of him in this one, some better action.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it seems like a revised Elektra is our villain, along with Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver! Yay!
But I don't know. And I don't know if I just don't know my Marvel Universe enough to know who that character is. I keep thinking Silvermane, who's a male character who's like got a robot skeleton kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But is kind of another sort of New York crime boss-like character. Because the other thing you'll notice, we see zero Wilson Fisk in this trailer.
Exactly.
So who knows if he's even part of the plot. I like that Stick is back. Madame Gao is back.
Yeah, I love Madame Gao. I think she is very spooky and sort of titillating kind of villain. Like, I don't know what to expect from her.
The very unassuming, but with lots of power.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I like it, it looks like it has the hand. And like you said, Elektra's there, but she's evil now. And that's straight out of the comic. I liked the, Matt Murdock being back in the compromised day clothes costume, where he's just wrapping up his face.
Right, he's with Jessica Jones' scarf, which is, she's clearly the outlier because her whole thing is she's not a superhero, doesn't really uses her powers, but doesn't want to be like person who's out helping people with them outside of just doing her PI thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting because I don't want to see her as like a superhero type character, though. Like, throw her in a situation and she'll punch her way out if she needs to. But I don't want to see her being like, I'm here to make a change in New York the same way Luke Cage, Iron Fist, or Daredevil would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would be better used in that regard.
Exactly. But yay for the Defenders.
Yeah, totally.
Next up, what do you want to do? Stay on Marvel? Do the Inhumans?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
We're back from watching the Inhumans trailer. The problem is, which is fun, because we also got an email while we're recording here of a proposed lineup for panels at this upcoming Minnesota Fan Fest thing that Liam and I are being panelists for. And I'm on an Inhumans panel, but I don't know if I've ever read an Inhumans comic. So I have a lot of homework to do. I know the basics. I know the characters: Maximus, Black Bolt, Medusa, Triton, Crystal. But
I think you know more than me then. Because I know 3 or 4 of those characters.
I know,
and that's about it.
I know a lot of the basics, and then a lot of what I know comes from like the War of Kings, Realm of Kings, the stuff that happened in the Marvel Cosmic storyline. That's the Inhuman stuff that I'm really familiar with. Otherwise, the basis of their characters. But I'm not nearly caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the Inhuman stuff that they're doing there. I think this is an example of being too close to the comic sometimes and too far away. I think Medusa looks kind of ridiculous. And while I get she's got to do something with her hair, it might be another issue. TV just doesn't have the money. And Black Bolt doesn't have the tuning fork on his head.
No, that would be really cool.
Well, he's supposed to have it even without... It's not part of his mask. It's like it's on his head.
No, it's part of his head, yeah. Yeah, most of my knowledge of the Inhumans comes from that... what was that Alex Ross series that they did? Not Kingdom Come, the...
Earth X?
Earth X, yeah. Back, so I know a couple of those characters. I know that the whole, thing behind Black Bolt is that he can devastate with a word, so he keeps from talking ever.
It's very much the Cyclops thing, is he has to at all times cover his eyes, otherwise, no matter what, he throws out these destructive blasts. Black Bolt is that, but it's with his voice. He can't speak, so he kind of has to have this sort of hidden... You would think he just learned sign language? Even if it's like Inhuman sign language, it doesn't need to be American sign language. But
moon standard.
Yeah, because they live on the moon. They live on the dark side of the moon, so we can't see them. But so the idea being Medusa sort of translates for him, and all he does is like make small gestures or whatever. But I like that they have Lockjaw, I guess, the giant pug dog that teleports people. That's also supposed to have the little tuning fork on his head.
By the way, ever since you said Dark Side of the Moon, I've just had Pink Floyd going through my head. So
it's
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's me.
You're welcome. You'd think
All
if
that
they
you
were
see,
smart,
all that you
if they were smart, they would
Yeah.
they would get the rights.
Oh,
that would have been
they-
the song they used in this trailer instead of whatever song.
And
that
Roger
was.
Waters will take your money. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, their whole thing of this is they're releasing it in IMAX first, like the first 3 episodes as a movie, and then they'll show it as the TV show. And I'm sure it's the first episode's a big 3-parter thing.
And I was surprised that the guy who played Ramsay Bolton is a bad guy in this. I would not have pictured that.
You never thought that he would be playing sort of the underhanded guy who's not appreciated nearly enough and seeks power. Yeah, so he plays the Mad Maximus, or Maximus the Mad, brother of Black Bolt. And I guess we'll see. I'll be honest, I don't plan on going to see this in IMAX because I'm not a big IMAX guy anyway. But I don't know if maybe I'll watch the first 3 episodes if they're out on Hulu or something.
Yeah.
I need to know a lot more about the Inhumans before I get excited. Like, normally I would say cool, but like the character design seems like they're trying to find this like weird middle ground between just flat out doing the comics and not doing the comics.
Yeah.
So
a tuning fork would really go a long way,
right?
I think, It's a
Right.
simple detail, but it's in the comics and it makes no sense in real world. It's that's his character.
Which is why it's great. That's the
Yeah.
Jack Kirby thing. Give me some weird Kirby lines, and because I think Inhumans were a Kirby creation, and I am basing that strictly off of the character designs. Feel very Jack Kirby.
Oh yeah,
with all those sharp angles and stuff on Black Bolt's design.
yeah. A giant pit bull or a giant bulldog with a tuning fork on his head. Yeah. That's a Kirby.
Exactly. So meh, I guess for this one.
Yeah, I might see it in the IMAX. It depends on if it's like standard release IMAX or if you have to go to a specific IMAX theater.
Yeah.
Because that would be a pain in the butt.
Exactly.
And it would be like $20 for a ticket.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the Gifted trailer for Fox. And again, I guess we didn't even say this. The idea being you can pause it, watch the trailer, and then come back and we're all fresh from it. But anyway, let's watch the Gifted trailer.
Here we go. Okay. Yep. There you go.
I don't know. I'm honestly not sure. This is the first time they actually flat out identify the characters as the ones you think they are.
I'm gonna watch this personally.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm a huge nerd. Maybe it's because I've always liked the mutant aspect of the Marvel universe the most.
Uh-huh.
I'm at least gonna give this a try.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen every one of those X-Men movies, and that's the only one of those franchises I can say that about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, but you haven't seen Legion yet, have you?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because that's also on my list. That's getting close to the top of my list. I think I'm going to Legion once I'm done with season 3 of The Flash, but I still have a couple episodes left there.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks interesting. It just feels very Fox.
It does feel Fox.
All of their dramas that might drag on, and it's a lot of this, like, we're on the run, and it has sort of that color tone as well, where everything's just very shadowy.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they blow their budget in the first episode using powers, and then the rest of the show they don't use powers.
Yeah, that would be a little disappointing.
Because it seems like originally I was thinking all the powers would be things you don't need a lot of special effects to do, like moving things with your mind.
Yeah.
And also the whole dad puts people like us in jail feels very Heroes. It feels very guy with the horn-rimmed glasses kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, I never watched Heroes. So.
Oh, first season. I mean, after that, feel free to drop off. I think the first episode of the second season was really good, if I remember right. But the first season of Heroes is fantastic. And so it's a big we'll see for me. I'm happy there's something else that you're looking forward to seeing. I just don't know because it's Fox, So
yeah.
you never know what it is you're going to get out of that. And I'm just worried it's going to feel just very generic.
Yeah, I hope it's just not too much of like a unnecessary melodrama.
Right.
And there is a family aspect to the show, so I can see it potentially having a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of dig on the idea of people having superpowers because they're mutants and being sort of hunted as a result of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that they
I'm with
name
you
dropped
there,
the Brotherhood and the X-Men,
right?
They don't really know if they're still around,
right? So
that
are we
It's
future?
a big question.
Is this
you
a
know?
future tense movie then, or do we consider it the present and we just don't know if they're around?
Yeah,
Because the X-Men movies are so confusing at this point.
Yeah, and obviously there's some that are set in the 60s and 70s, and then there are some that are presumably set in the 2000s when they were made. But yeah, we don't really know. Is this meant to be like after the events of X3, if that's still canon?
I don't think so. I think it was taken out of canon after Days of Future Past, but then
That's right.
Apocalypse would be canon, and that's more recent.
Yeah, that's
or no,
right.
Apocalypse is 80s. So
Apocalypse
maybe
was the 80s, yes.
So in the new canon, it's confusing.
Yeah,
it's confusing,
you'd have
and
to
I don't
really see,
expect
like,
this
a
show.
timeline.
I don't expect the show to put any effort into making it right.
Yeah.
You know, we just
yeah.
know it's been a while. But if this coincides with with Logan, which
Yeah.
is in the future,
Maybe this is a
but it's been
standalone
30
universe.
years before so maybe the end of Gifted leads to all the mutants being gone, or Professor X having his freak out and killing the X. I doubt it. I just assume you're supposed to roll with it.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of wondering if this is a connected universe, or is this just supposed to sort of be like standalone?
I don't know. I think Legion was more or less standalone, so it's tangentially related, but not so much that you're actually supposed to be able to draw lines, which means they don't understand their audience whatsoever. Because the whole reason comics have continuity was because fans started drawing those connections, and they're like, look, they're just supposed to be one-off stories. They're like, nope, this one happened before this one, after this one, and these people must exist in the same universe because they mention this same name. Fans want to do that. They want to imagine that these fictional worlds are worlds they could potentially inhabit themselves.
Yeah.
So you gotta do that. All right. Looks like we got two big ones left here. So let's do the Preacher or The Walking Dead.
Preacher is one that I am a little more familiar with in general, even though
Okay.
I haven't read it.
So let's do Preacher right now. Let's watch Preacher.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't actually seen this trailer before, but I have
And
seen...
like a 10-inch,
Yeah.
I had to see it to believe it.
Okay. So that's inappropriate, but it's in the trailer. So he's quoting,
Boom!
not saying. So I've seen all of season 1 of Preacher, and it's very different from the comic, and it's trying to be its own weird, quirky thing. I honestly don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I like that the Saint of Killers is there. I look forward to him being involved. I like that Herr Starr is there, and they're dealing with sort of the Grail and his whole organization. I'm dropping things that people who haven't read the comics have no idea what I'm talking about. But I honestly have no idea. I have no idea what they're going to be doing with this show. And the first season was interesting, but I feel like if I wasn't a fan of the comic, I probably wouldn't have finished watching because I just didn't know what it was I was watching.
See, I have not read the comics at all. I'm familiar in name only with some of it because of having read Wizard comic or magazine for so long.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I recognized the Saint of Killers. The guy with the puckered mouth is familiar to me also. I did not watch the first season, but seeing this, I'm like, yeah, okay, I might have to jump in on this. And honestly, after you and Ray have talked about the comics so much, I think I might just need to read the collected volume.
Yeah, or it would be interesting for you to go in and watch the season 1 of the show, because I feel like you'd probably like it, but then also to come back and talk about it never having read the comic, so I could get that different perspective on the show. It's all on Hulu right now, if you have somebody with access to Hulu.
I have Hulu.
Okay, well, there you go.
There we go.
So last trailer is the new season of The Walking Dead. And going into this, I have to say this is going to be spoiling things for me because I have not watched season 7 yet.
And I have yet to watch season 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, all right.
Four.
Don't waste the time. You haven't watched this show at all. Have you ever read the comic?
I've read some of the early volume,
Okay,
the
all right.
first probably 10 to 12 issues.
I am caught up on my Walking Dead. And I saw the first episode of season 7 because it was free. I'm just waiting for it to be on Netflix. For all I know, it's already up there. But once it's on Netflix, then I'll go ahead and binge it. I don't have AMC, so I can't watch Walking Dead. I don't have regular cable. But let's watch this trailer then.
Let's do it. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that was a really long one.
It really was.
There's that 5-minute trailer. Clearly, a lot of that is just, I think, sort of fan service so that people in the San Diego crowd can scream every time they see a character they recognize.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that sort of were familiar to me from the comics. That last shot especially is a reference to a big time jump that the comics take. They shoot forward a couple of years, I think.
Okay.
But beyond that, it kind of looked like just more of the same that I remember from The Walking Dead. And again, I haven't watched the show in quite a while, and I haven't seen any of this most recent season. But it's just kind of they're still, running around Georgia and shooting zombies and surviving, and then people will die and new characters will show up, and it just kind of plugs along,
Yeah. Even from just like the little bit that I saw at the beginning of the show, I did see a couple of people still walking around that I recognized.
Yeah.
A couple of the female characters, Coral, of course, and Daryl.
Right, of course. Yeah.
I think that show will cease to be if they kill Daryl off.
Well, we'll see. I could see him trying to do that in order to get big ratings or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I don't know what the ending of the story is. Even in the comics, the idea is it's just life goes on, and that's kind of the whole point, is it's basically a soap opera, which a lot of comics are, but Walking Dead in particular, because characters come and go, and you never really know where the next storyline is going. It's just time keeps moving on,
Yeah.
They're not necessarily telling one story so long as they're telling a history, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So cool. I guess there was nothing there that I was like, oh yes, that. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of those except for that last shot as far as fans of the comics go, of hinting that they might be doing that time jump. Beyond that, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot there. It just took its time to say, hey, look, all these characters are still here.
Yeah.
I
Here's
guess
explosions and such.
Yeah, so I guess I don't need to worry about any of that. Those characters dying, I guess, when I watch the most recent season.
Yeah.
But that was it, I guess. Last thing that I want to mention, and I didn't put it on there because I didn't find it because I didn't take the time, honestly, because they keep getting pulled online. There is a leaked Infinity War trailer. It basically shows a bunch of heroes. It has Thanos, but he's wearing like a sleeveless t-shirt. And then has like the Infinity Gauntlet. It's really weird because he's not wearing his full armor. Spider-Man has this new advanced armor. The cool thing is there's one shot where it shows the hair raising off of his arm, meaning they are introducing a spider sense. Captain America's back and he's got a beard. The Guardians of the Galaxy run into Thor. So we know that that's going to happen after Ragnarok, probably in an end credit sequence. And they pick him up, and there's really not a whole lot else that I remember. You couldn't really hear anything because of all the screaming and because it was a bad quality video. So I'm sure we'll talk about that once it finally gets released, which of course it's going to at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But that is out there if you want to look hard enough. Some only have little bits of information. Some are just a minute long. Some are 2 minutes long. There's a lot to unpack and a lot to see in those trailers. But and then they released the big poster, which shows it looks like Rhodey in War Machine armor, so I guess he'll be fine. Pretty much shows everybody, obviously, in that trailer. So it'll be interesting. It seems like the Guardians have a lot to do in this movie, which is great. It seems like you're going to see more Nebula and more Gamora, and I'm looking forward to that in particular.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got to see an adult Groot. Maybe we did. Maybe we did in one shot. Again, I haven't seen it. That's the benefit of doing what we did this episode, which is pause, watch a trailer, because then I actually remember what's going on. Otherwise, I have to take extensive notes, and that gets annoying. So, top trailer for you, off the top of your head.
I guess I'm most excited for Ready Player One.
Cool. I would probably give it to, I guess, Thor Ragnarok.
It was a close decision, though. I have to agree that Thor Ragnarok looked a lot of fun.
Yes, it looks like a fun movie. I'm excited to see Ready Player One. I worry about what Spielberg is going to do to it. I hope that it's a great mix of CG and live action like Jurassic Park, but I don't think so. I think it's just going to be a giant green screen fest.
Most likely.
So that has me a little worried. Some of our green screen stuff is amazing, but then you have some of those shots in the Justice League trailer, and you're like, maybe we're not there yet. Maybe we're still not quite there yet with our CG, because some of it looks kind of weird. Okay, any last thoughts before we close out the show?
I do also see there's a trailer for what looks to be some Punisher-related business.
So there is an earlier, this is the one I was talking about last week that you said you hadn't seen. It's another Defenders trailer, but it's more of a trailer for all of the Netflix Marvel Universe.
Okay.
And it's Stan Lee in like a cab driving around talking about the importance of superheroes. And at the very end, you get that one shot of the Punisher and he just says, "Looks like I showed up just in time." And you see one shot of him, and that's it.
Okay. Because I'm excited for that Punisher show if they're going to do it. You know,
Yes. Well, my understanding is that they absolutely are. It's just we haven't seen a whole lot come out of it yet.
I think he is an excellent Punisher, and I really look forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Also, I see that there is a Vikings Season 5 trailer, and as soon as we are done recording, I am going to be watching that. Because
I've yet to see any of Vikings. Okay. I keep being told it's good.
It is.
Maybe I'll have to add it to the list as well. Is there a lot of episodes each season, though? Is it like a 22 episode thing I got to deal with?
No, it's like 10 or 12 episodes per season.
Much better. Okay.
And they are, like the 45-minute, 50-minute episodes or whatever. But it's based, loosely on the saga of real characters, real historical characters.
Cool.
And people kind of come and go from the show. So the modern seasons that we're getting, like this season and part of last season, don't feature a lot of the same characters. So it's one of those shows that evolves over time, which makes it interesting.
Well, great. Why don't you bring us into the end of the show there, Liam?
Bum 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 bum.
Trailers. Perfect. Well, that's going to be it for this week then. Next week, we're going to dive into even more news from Comic-Con. This was just going over all those big trailers. As always, if you have suggestions for the show or you want to just send us a message, you can find us on Twitter at ComicBoxCast. You can send us an email at thecomicboxpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. We're part of the greater Geek to Geek podcast community, so search Geek to Geek Podcast on Facebook and you'll find us. And then we can talk more about all these trailers on Reddit, which is reddit.com/r/geek-to-geekcast. Liam, I'm assuming you're just on Facebook?
Facebook and Reddit on Irish_Mutt.
Yes, links in the show notes so you can find Liam. And that's it.
Whee!
Hooray! Successful episode. Let me know if you guys liked us doing this format. I hope to not do a ton of trailer stuff. I want to get back into comics for a little while. But let us know what you thought of us sort of stopping and watching and then doing it that way. I don't know.
Really
I'm
fresh.
playing around. Yeah, I'm playing around with stuff. I'm playing around. But yes, so don't forget, read Umbrella Academy, or if you want to reach out, and I don't know where we'd even find this, but JLA Act of God, the things I'm going to try and tackle for next week. Until then, bye.
Bye-bye.